Good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Suresh Dumal, and I'll be talking on the hydroponic farming in the context of India. So basically, I started in my career in hydroponics as a grower, and over a period of time, I've been a professional hydroponist now, supporting the new entrepreneurs who are entering into the hydroponic systems or grow systems or in the hydroponic projects. So almost I started my career in hydroponics in 2011, and I set up my own hydroponic unit in 2015. And for a couple of years, I ran that project. And later on, then I started, giving support to the new entrants into the hydroponic systems or in the hydroponic projects. So I'll start off with this as a very general information, which will give you an insight as to what is the situation in terms of this hydroponic farming in India, and what are the plus points that we have, and how we can embark on this new technology and do a good job, as well as because the consumer demand is rising day by day, though it may be in India as well as abroad also. But in the developed countries, the competition has become very tough now because the production cost and labor issues are becoming very acute, and now they are looking for some other alternatives to source much cheaper food from the developing countries. So in this context, let's hear the important things about hydroponics. So basically, I have been in this field for almost 10 years now, but I don't think so that I have know everything that I have, so far learned in hydroponics, but I still have to learn a lot. And this is not what the statement shown here on the slide is not mine, but it is by Albert Einstein. And the same applies to me also, because it's a learning process and it never ends. Learning doesn't end at any given point. So basically, you always keep on learning. And in that process, also new technologies come into place. And you have to also update yourselves with the new technologies that come on a regular basis. So basically, considering the two aspects, the first two aspects I would like to put some emphasis is, one is the food security. Now, generally, food security is the availability of sufficient quantity of affordable food to every consumer or to the every living person on this earth. So that is basically security. So there should not be any shortages in supply of food, where there'll be people who don't have access to food and maybe have maybe malnutrition, or maybe uh, without food or empty stomach. So basically, food security is one, and the second one is the food safety. Now, the food safety is basically whatever you consume in terms of any food item, that food item should not cause any harm to the consumer. So that's what we say, that the food is safe. So basically, food security and food safety are the main concerns of today's generations, because as you might have seen that a lot of fruits and vegetables, we use a lot of pesticides to control the pest and disease issues, and ultimately these are brought into the end product, and that's what we consume, and then we have different health problems. So basically, food security and food safety are the most important aspects of uh, today's uh, context, and this is very integrately connected with hydroponics. How hydroponics can solve this food security and food safety. It has some limitations, but most of the part can be covered under hydroponics through food safety and food security. Now, we all know that food is completely closely related with water. Now, if you see the agricultural water security, the maximum efficiency of water use in agriculture is not very high in India. As if you compare the same situation in Israel, the water use efficiency is very high as compared to the uh, local context. So basically, as we don't have very clean, unpolluted water, you know, that question comes about food security. Now, also we have a lot of climatic variables, that one of the, like drought, and since there's no much reliability of water for agriculture, and that becomes one of the biggest crises in the country in terms of food production. Because of less quantum of water for agriculture, it ultimately affects the food production. So ultimately our food production also goes down. So there's less food production because of less availability of water for agriculture. And simultaneously, due to less food production, we have more hunger and malnutrition. That is the current scenario in most of the developing countries and the underdeveloped countries also. So basically, considering all these basic aspects of water, food safety, food security, I think hydroponic can play or is playing a major role to avoid all these situations. Now, if you consider the current agriculture scenario of India, we have basic problems that the agriculture sector faces. Basically, due to global warming, there are variations in or increase in temperatures, which ultimately affect the production systems also, with concern with traditional agriculture. Secondly, there's an unpredictable climate, and the weather patterns are changing. There's no fixed season now. So based on the different weather conditions, I think there's an effect on the crop productivity also, and hence there's a lot of loss in production. Similarly, drought conditions, there are regular features, but we don't know exactly now. uh, if you see the past 4 5 years, I think the drought prone areas are also receiving quite um, huge quantities of rainfalls, as vis-a-vis the western areas which are in the high rainfall areas. So basically everything related to climate is changing very fast because of the global warming. That's what they relate to, and hence it has a very high impact on agricultural production. Secondly, the polluted water has been used for agriculture, so hence the food safety issue comes into picture. As well as, if you see the water tables, maybe the surface or the groundwater tables are depleting year by year, and water available for agriculture has also declined. Since we don't have a good water management practices, we don't value water as we should do, as what the Israelis do for water, because the water is a very scarce commodity that they have, and they use that water very judiciously, and hence they have a very good water management systems. But in India also, with the with the introduction of drip irrigation systems and all that, we have also started having or improving our water management practices. Now, with considering all the problems that the agricultural fraternity faces, there's almost a social economic status of the rural population is declining uh, day by day or year by year, because of the unreliability of the climatic parameters and other factors also, which are beyond the control of humans. So that's why what is happening, the agriculture production as well as the productivity is declining year to year. So these are the major factors that the Indian traditional agriculture is facing. Now then, when we say that hydroponics is a technology which can eliminate most of these problems, so let's understand what is hydroponics first. Basically, hydroponics is a system where you grow plants, the vegetables, fruits, without using any soil, but using nutrient solutions which are rich in all the nutrients that the plant needs, and or using inert materials like coco peat or perlite, leca, mineral, rock wool, and all these things. And in these systems, we see that the roots also get adequate oxygen, besides getting the optimum nutrients for their growth. And this system, when you have the nutrients as well as the oxygen, that gives you a good high quality and quantitative yields. Now, this is what is hydroponics. So you got the idea. Now, initially, when the word hydroponics was derived, it was basically only concerned with water. So it was concerned that hydroponic technology is the technology wherein you grow plants using only water. Water means basically nutrient solutions. But now the uh, other materials like the inert materials like coco peat or rock wool or perlite, they are also been included as a growing media in hydroponics. So in broad sense, growing plants in water or in inert substrate is classified as hydroponics. Now, why hydroponics? We said that initially that there's a lot of economical losses due to climate related issues here in the traditional agricultural field. So basic is flooding, irregular rains, droughts, temperatures are rising, the pest disease damage is also rising, and it has been studied in some of the world food and agricultural organization has come up with a report that it says that with 1 degree rise in temperature, 10 to 25% damage has occurred or is occurring due to the pest and diseases. So that is also a major issue in the traditional agricultural farming. Now, when we say why hydroponics, then this is the reason that it's a very environment friendly and sustainable system to grow your vegetable crops in where you get an assured and high quality yields, and it also uses very less water as compared to your traditional crops grown in open fields in soil basically. And then there's the, since you're growing all these crops in a controlled environment, like in a protected environment, like in a greenhouse, you can minimize the incidence of pests, and hence there are many, so there's a less use of pesticides. And since you're not using soil, there is no question of using any weedicides and all that into the systems. And when you have an assured production in a protective environment, you're assured of getting an income out of this business. Now, if you see what are the basic hydroponic grow systems that are adopted here in India as well as in the other parts of the world, I'm talking about commercial hydroponics, not the hobby hydroponics, which is done in the balconies and terraces and all these things on a very small scale. But I'm basically giving more emphasis on the commercial growing systems, hydroponic growing systems. So the first system, as I mentioned, there is the water-based system, which is the uh, very capital intensive system and one of the most efficient systems in growing vegetables. Now I'll come later on to the pros and cons of this system. So in water-based system, there are two systems that are commercially used. One is the nutrient film technique. In short, it is called as NFT. And the second one is deep water culture, which is known as DWC. Now, these two systems, in their name itself, they indicate why there is a difference. In the nutrient film technique, nutrient film means there's a thin film of nutrient solution which is flowing underneath the plant roots. So that's why it is called a nutrient film technique. And the other one is a deep water culture. What it means, there's a depth of water, a certain depth of water in which the plants are grown. So that is the basic information when you can derive from the names of these two technologies. The second system of hydroponics, as I earlier mentioned, it is using inert substrate or a media. I have listed only coco peat as the inert media system here for growing vegetables. The reason is, now the earlier medias that were used to grow this high value hydroponic crops were like rock wool, perlite, peat moss. These were the then what has happened over a period of time. Now all these earlier medias are not environment friendly basically. Like for, if you see the peat moss, it is a mined product from a lot of many years it takes to form a peat product. So it's a mining product, so it's not very environmentally friendly, and it's not a renewable resource actually, because it takes so many millions of years to get this product. So basically the Western world or the rest of the world who used to use all these medias earlier have come to a stop for using this type of materials now, and everybody has shifted to cocoa peat, which is a product which is derived from the coconut fruit, and it's being a natural and a renewable resource. Everybody has shifted to cocoa peat, and that's why I have just mentioned cocoa peat as the inert media that is used worldwide. And the importance of that, the other importance is that basically cocoa peat is produced here in India, Sri Lanka, and Thailand, and they are supplying this cocoa peat to the whole world, where they are using hydroponics as a growing technology. So that's why we have to give a very good importance to cocoa peat in this respect. Now, in the nutrient film technique, you would see that these are the channels, we call it, or usually some people call them gutters also, or gullies. It is basically a food grade PVC product in a rectangular shape, and based on what crop you want to grow, you can have different dimensional gullies or nutrient channels, uh, various sizes. That's what I say, which the plants are grown in them. If you see the pictures at the bottom, you'll see that these are long channels with holes in them, where the plants are placed in these holes, and there's a thin film of nutrient solution is flowing at the base of these channels. So this is what is called the nutrient film technology. Now this is a commercial greenhouse hydroponic project, NFT project, where it is growing leafy vegetables. So in this system, this NFT is what I said earlier also, it is the most efficient systems in terms of resource utilization and in terms of productivity also. It functions like a factory. So we call that as a lettuce factory. Like, you can set your production cycles as per your requirements or as per the market requirements, and get the production, harvested on a daily basis, every alternate day, every third day, whatever cycles you want to fit into that project, you can work on that. And that's why we say that it's basically a lettuce factory. Now the second system, so these are the different lettuces which have been grown in this NFT system. And if you can see the crop growth and it's the visual effects of the crops, you can definitely see that it looks a very attractive thing. And ultimately, when you want to really see the health of the crop, if you see this picture with the roots, you will see all the roots are white in color. So that is an indication that this crop is very healthy, and a lot of precautions have been taken so as to eliminate any contamination in there were any diseases on the roots, it would have turned brown or black. But if you see, if it is completely white, it means that it's giving you a very clean product, means it's giving you a very safe food. Now when we come to the next system, a water-based system, what we call as a DWC, or a deep water culture. Now it's basically, this part is a tank actually, at a tank, and it has a depth of some like various production systems where they use DWC varies. It may be 6 inches, it may be 8 inches, it may be 12 inches. So here and it all depends upon in which climatic conditions you are using this DWC technology. So the depth of the tank depends upon the region where you're planning to grow them. So this is basically a tank wherein it is filled with the nutrient solution at a certain depth. And these are the PVC floats or rafts or boards, you can say, hollow boards, wherein they have holes in them, and the plants from the nurseries are, once they have grown to a certain stage, they have been transplanted into these rafts, and these rafts float on water or float on that nutrient solution till they get mature, and then they are harvested. So it is basically, in general terms, it is called a raft system system or a float system also. But here you need a lot more quantum of static water or nutrient solution, because these tanks are built on a various sizes and the depth is very high. So as compared to NFT, the static water requirement is very high in DWC. This is a commercial deep water culture farm. You'll see there are, but this is one of the tanks which is where the rafts are floating. This is the tank with the crop inside. This is an empty tank. Just due to the reflection, you can see the top part. So it's filled with water. So this is also a very good system. And it is basically recommended to a certain climatic conditions where NFT cannot be used as a growing technology. The other the second growing system, that is the substrate based system. Now, if you see the crops here, one is the one on the left is the cherry tomato and the one on the right is seedless cucumbers. Basically, the plants are grown in the troughs. There are HDP troughs wherein you put the coco peat inside it and as a media, and then transplant your plants and grow them over a period of their life cycle. Similarly, in the second system, it's the same system but a different type. It's a grow bag system, we call it. These are the ready-made bags which are already stuffed with coco peat. You have to just bring them and then expand the coco peat in the bag, and it gets of a size of 1 meter by 15 centimeters by 20 centimeters. That is the size of a standard grow bag. And similarly, like individual bags also you can use to grow your crops in the media system. Now, if you have seen the NFT system, the pictures that I've shown earlier, you might have already seen that there were only leafy vegetables grown in them. Now, why leafies and why not the other long duration crops like tomatoes or cucumbers or melons or capsicums? So basically, when you see the channel, or when you have seen the NFT channel or the gully that I have shown in the earlier slide, it's a small 100 by 50 mm channel. So being a small channel, we need to see that the crop that is grown in that is a short duration crop, and hence the short duration crops almost have a limited volume of root mass in the growth media. So that size of channels is much sufficient to grow the short duration leafy crops in them. People have tried to use big NFT channels and have grown tomatoes and capsicums. That can be done. It's not, I don't say that it's not possible, but it can be grown. But the only problem is the economic feasibility of that crop when you are using NFT. So basically NFT, the water-based system NFT is mainly recommended to grow short duration leafy vegetables. So all these different types of leafy lettuces, spinach, bok choy, some herbs also you can grow in them, provided all these leafy varieties that we grow are grown on a single nutrient recipe, because all the nutrient requirements of all these different crops should be the same. Because if you want to grow different crops with different nutrient requirements, then the system becomes too complicated or it becomes too expensive. So it is best recommended to grow use a single recipe to grow n number of leafy vegetables very effectively. So basically all different types of leafy lettuces are grown on this, plus some other regular leafy vegetables like the Asian vegetables like bok choy. Spinach is a very common product, but usually I personally don't recommend spinach to be grown in water-based systems because they are prone to root disease problems over a period of time. So I basically recommend them to grow it in the coco peat based system. So, and basically whatever produce you want to grow in a hydroponic system, you have to always think that it has to be a high value product, because when you set up a hydroponic unit, it's a very capital intensive system. So whatever you grow into them has to be a very premium product or a very high value product to service your capital investment. So you have to always think on growing very high value crops which fetch a very premium price in the market. So basically these are exotics. Now in the media based system, if you see all the crops here, these are all long duration crops. So if you say capsicum, colored capsicum, seedless cucumbers, cherry tomatoes, broccoli, melons, and strawberries, as compared to leafies, they have a longer life cycle. So basically, we recommend all long duration crops in media based system. So these are basically what are the pictures I have shown. These are just representative of the crops that are presently grown in the Indian hydroponic scenario. And these are all high value crops. Colored capsicum, there are a lot of variants in colored capsicum also, color wise as well as shape, sizes and all that. But we are not concerned about that, but we are just selecting these type of crops. In cucumbers, these are basically snacking cucumbers, which are not very big in size, very small ones, sweet. They are called burpless also because when you consume them, you don't get any burps as compared to the local varieties that we eat. And they don't become they are never bitter as what you see in the local varieties. When one of or few of the fruits may get bitter when you eat them. So that is because of the cultural practices. But here with these seedless varieties, you'll not find a single fruit which is bitter. Cherry tomatoes here all, that those are small size that have different colors in them. Basically, two colors are the predominant varieties that are grown, red and yellow. Broccoli is also a high value crop. It's basically a cool season crop. Specialty melons, I'm not talking about general melons, but specialty melons like a Galia melon, it has a very, it is one of the most sweetest melons in the melon category. So that is also very suitable to be grown in a hydroponic system year round. The last, everybody knows strawberry is a high value crop, and it can be grown in the greenhouse systems at least for 8 to 10 months of the year through using 2 crop cycles. Now, what is the advantage of the hydroponic systems? It's a very sustainable technology that can be adopted to grow various kinds of vegetables and fruits. What I mentioned earlier also, like, when you consider water-based systems, maybe DWC or NFT, least water requirement is there because the water that is lost is only through evapotranspiration. Nothing as soil and all that. So whatever the water is consumed, it's consumed by the plant, and hence those are very highly water efficient systems. Second is you have a very high crop density per unit area. So high density per crop unit ultimately gives you high productivity per unit area. Ultimately, that results in high financial output. Then in the hydroponic systems, like in water-based systems, they are running 24/7. They don't shut down, because once the NFT system or a DWC system has been commenced, you have to run it continuously, so you get the production round the year in a very less area and very high yields per unit area also. And in media-based system, it requires little larger area to grow long duration crops, because the crops remain there in the greenhouse for almost for some crops, it remains there for 4 months to maximum 9 to 10 months. So they are a long duration crop. So to have a cyclic production, you have to always divide your one single greenhouse into 2 sections. Half the section you sow today or sow right now, and the second half you sow in such a manner that when the first crop comes to an end, the second crop starts giving you fruits. So you're supplying the product round the year in the market. And if you do so, if you supply your produce continuously round the year, then only you are able to dictate your own price, your selling price to the consumer or to the buyer. So it is very important that in any hydroponic systems or any agricultural production systems, we have to see that we are there in the market round the year with our quality produce. And that's how then you can have a leverage on marketing, where you can dictate your own price and achieve a better remuneration. Then when I say that in hydroponics, you always get consistency in quality as well as in supply. Again, now, like in a water-based system, the labor force required per unit area is like per unit project is also very low as compared to, a media-based system. In media-based system also, it depends upon the type of crop that you are growing. Like most of the crops that I showed earlier, I think are in the wine, are the wine crops like capsicum, cucumber, cherry tomatoes, melons, except for strawberry and broccoli that I had shown. These are not wine crops. So these wine crops require a little more labor intensive. Ultimately, you're feeding the plants in through water or using an inert media. So you have to be very precise in supplying your nutrients based on the crop requirement. So you only apply that much nutrients to the media or give through the nutrient solutions that is required by the plant. So there's no excess use of fertilizers in the system. Similarly, there are no weeds, so no weedicides are used, pests and diseases are minimized. So if you follow preventive measures, I think that will give you the best quality product with no residues in them, and hence you can produce safe food. Then in these hydroponic systems, there are various degrees of automation that you can incorporate it into the project. It all depends up to what level you can do the automation. Because in an NFT system, for example, the system that I use is a moving gully system in which you get a higher productivity per unit area over a period of time. So it's to do that, to achieve that, we need to keep on moving the channels based on the plant growth and all that. And then you can achieve a very high output from that system. So basically, in the Western world or in developed countries, they already have a automized system wherein the channels are moved mechanically without using any labors. But that degree of automation, we cannot get that into India at this moment, because considering the market prices of the produce that you are going to sell and all these things, that system would not be economically viable. So we have to decide on up to what level we can do the automations so as to reduce the manual intervention in the system. Comfortable work environment, because most of the crops that are grown in water-based system are basically cool climate crops. Cool climate crops means they require temperature, they are from the temperate region, so they require cooler climate. So to have a cooler climate in a greenhouse, we use the cooling systems, evaporative cooling systems like pad and fan or a fogging system. So basically the environment inside the greenhouse is very congenial for the workers to work in. But for the media-based system where they are grown in a naturally ventilated greenhouses, where there's no much temperature control, but still it is much more better than working in the direct sunlight in the open farms. Then for this type of technology, you can use any type of land, rocky land, unproductive land, whatever type of land. So because we are not concerned with the land, the soil below, because we're not going to utilize that for growing. So everything is going to grow above the soil. So any type of land can be utilized for growing. Now with the lot of many advantages of these systems, there are few disadvantages to this system also. Like these are all highly capital intensive. Comparatively, the water-based system is a very highly capex intensive as compared to the media-based system. Then before you have to venture into these projects, you have to have a complete technical knowledge, so that if you don't have that, then it's not worth in to start the project at all. Because since we are not using any soil in this project for growing crops, because soil, as you all know, that it has a big buffering capacity, because if we add too much fertilizers, too less water, too much water, less fertilizers, that is okay, the plants can survive. But in the hydroponic system, anything excess or anything below will give a detrimental effect on your productivity. So that is one of the drawbacks, that you have to be very precise in applying your inputs. Should have a reliable water supply and an interrupted power supply, because for NFT you need power 24/7. There is no option for that. You can use solar power, you can use from the grid. These are the two sources that you can use. use, but you need continuous power to operate that, because the nutrient solution is pumped, shut down anytime.
Sorry to interrupt, but there was some network issue, so we could not hear the last two lines. If you could repeat them.
From the same, okay.
Yes, sir.
So with regards to buffering, again, the thing, yeah. So because soil has a buffering capacity, but in hydroponics, when you are using water as well as the inert medias, they don't have a very good buffering capacity, or they don't have a buffering capacity at all. So you have to be very precise when you apply your inputs like fertilizers and water to grow these plants. So that is a big risk unless you know you have the knowledge of how much fertilizers and how much water that you need to apply. The crop will not perform otherwise. Then you have to have a reliable supply of water and power, because power is continuously needed for an NFT project. You cannot do without a power. So, but the power sources can be different modes: solar power, wind power, or your grid power. But the power has to be there. In case there are power shutdowns, then you have to use an alternate system like a DG set and all that to And that the crop losses, I said earlier, also the design, the construction, and the operational, knowledge of the project has to be known. Otherwise, then there's a big crop loss. And then what happens is usually the grower blames the technology, and he never blames himself for what he's lacking in. So technologies are foolproof, to my knowledge, unless you use them in the right perspective. You have to have suitable backups in case of breakdowns. Agriculture, as it was conceived till date or earlier also, they can sit here in Pune and have a farm in some other long distance area in Nasik or somewhere, and you can do farming. But in today's context, nothing can happen like that. You have to be there on the farm, because there's no such business as such that you can operate them remotely, unless it's a well-established business and all these things over a period of time, wherein you're also well versed with the technologies and ins and outs of the business. Then you can manage that. But with starting a new system like an hydroponic system, you have to be there on a daily basis to monitor the project. And once the diseases get into the system, like an NFT, if the root diseases come into the nutrient solution, as the nutrient solution is being recirculated all over the crop, it spreads very fast. So the problems are also very acute. Now, considering the time, I'll just go a little faster so that to finish that presentation within the stipulated time. Now, what are the prerequisites or the technical knowledge that is required to establish a project? You need to have a good design and construction of greenhouse structures. Now, in today's context, greenhouse structure is a very general term. And if you want to install a greenhouse anywhere in any part of the country, in any type of the climatic conditions, the design is almost the same. But you have to see that the climate wise, your design structure of the greenhouse should also vary. It cannot be as one fits all. It has to be designed for the climatic conditions in that particular region. Ultimately, when you do an NFT or a water-based system, your production cycles are so fast that you have to have your own nursery. You cannot depend on outside nurseries to source your saplings on a regular basis. It's very difficult. So you have to have your own nursery. So the design of and operation of the nursery should be well done. Now, crops that are grown in greenhouse are specially bred for greenhouse to be grown in a greenhouse. The open field varieties may not, many of the times will be viable to grow in a greenhouse. So these varieties have been specifically derived to be grown in a greenhouse environment, and hence the selection of crop variety is also very important. Water quality in hydroponics, maybe water-based or media-based, we always recommend to use RO plant to get RO water, good quality water. You need to know the nutrient requirement of the plant at various stages. For leafies, it's just one straight nutrient recipe. It's just the vegetative growth. But for fruiting plants, You have to have vegetative nutrition as well. During the vegetative phase, you have to have certain nutrient in proper ratios. And when it gets into fruiting and flowering, you have to change your recipes and get into fruiting, flowering recipes. Climate control, as I said, like in NFT and water-based systems, most of the crops that are grown are cool climate crops. So you have to control the climate there. You have to have a good production knowledge of technologies, all the cultural practices that you need to adopt. Pest and disease management is also very important. Backup protocols you have to have in times of breakdowns or this thing. And then you have to see that you use all your resources in a very cost effective manner. Then the automation systems I mentioned earlier, it's based on how much automation levels you can achieve. Now, what are the requirements for the hydroponic projects? High capital, that's the first most important thing. Location, favorable climatic conditions, table land. If not, then we have to convert that into a table land. Source of water should be a perennial one. Power supply, uninterrupted power supply. Selection, right selection of the crop. The potential markets should be very closer to the market, because basically all this exotic produce is marketed in big cities like the metro cities or cities like Pune, Hyderabad and all. So basically the market should be very close by, and you should have experienced manpower. The marketing channels that we always recommend for a high value produce or for the hydroponic produce, like basically it is a B2C model. In B2C model, basically wherein you supply the produce directly to the end consumer. So in this process, you dictate the price and the consumer has to accept. But if you go to B2B, then it is very difficult for you to dictate your price, because the other party, the buyer, will dictate the price at what price he will source. So we always recommend the growers to go B2C model wherein there are different ways that you can connect to the consumer through online platforms which are already existing now. Then people also cater to the farmer market because it's a B2C model actually, and it's all cash business. Online platforms, farmer markets, it's all cash business. It's not credit on credit. And so retail stores and vendors, it's also a direct mode of B2C, but it's a little credit based period. They have a little credit based period in this thing. And the second option, first is the domestic market. The second one was for the overseas market, which are the neighboring countries where we can always ship our produce through air. Still, it can be an economical option rather than them getting the produce from European or US or from long distance countries. We can always compete them with quality as well as pricing also. But provided for an overseas market, you need to have a certain size of project so that you can supply them the required quantum and at a required consistency. What is the future of hydroponics? It's much more traditional farming is not affordable now, as if you see with the various issues related to climate and all that. Then changing weather patterns and all these things have shown more interest towards the alternative farming methods, which hydroponics is one of them. There's an advanced technology is assured, production is assured, your returns are also assured in these systems. The return on investment on these hydroponic projects is also very short as compared to the open field projects or other projects that may be like grown in soil or something like that. But these projects are highly, because the productivity that you get through these systems is very high. So your return on investment is also very shorter. Then since the consumers are getting are all educated now and they want to have good safe food and all these things, so they're also planning to have good quality food. They're becoming health conscious. Then again, this technology also reduces the footprint. You don't need any tractors or anything to plow your fields, burn diesel on that, and so there are a lot of other benefits of this system. and it's a very environmentally friendly technology where you don't uh, pollute the environment or pollute the soil or pollute the groundwater also, and hence it's a very secure way of doing business. Now, if you see the major issues in concerning India, demand is rising. The urban population, their incomes are, the rural and urban population, their incomes are going up. Purchasing power is going up. There's a lot of opportunities, for supplying the produce to the overseas market also, because they are having acute issues with production and high cost of labor and all. And there's the government of India is also planning to, give more support to the agriculture community or to the agricultural industry. So as what they have, they're planning to double the farmers' income. And we have a very competitive advantage in terms of, availability of land, light, manpower, knowledge, you know. So everything is available with us. So we can play a major role in the international market too. Now the impetus, what the force that we are facing now, that the market is, increasing. So the scope has increasing for hydroponics. Technology is available, knowledge is there, and the government support also is there. These are the different types of hydroponic farm. This is the greenhouse natural horizontal farm. Then the other ones are like, indoor farms. Like this is a container farm. What they use is sea containers, they refrigerate containers, and they convert them into a growing room. So they use these containers, and they're basically used in urban cities itself. Vertical farms, they're used in, buildings or warehouses. A tower system, this is a horizontal system, this is a tower system. But to my view, horizontal systems are more efficient than the vertical systems in the greenhouse, I'm saying. But in the enclosed systems like, warehouses or buildings, these are also very efficient, but the cost of production is very high. Farms of the future, people are designing new farms in big cities all over the world, so that they can have buildings of, different storage, having different crops in different floors. This buildings in big cities, because in like in US or in Western Europe, people prefer to buy the locally grown produce at a premium price because it's grown locally, and so it's very fresh. There is no much carbon footprint involved into that, because there's no transportation. You get the freshest produce within an hour's time, and so they pay a premium price for that. It's yet to come into India. Like these are the farms which are floating on water also, hydroponic farms. These are vertical farms. Buildings are also converted, can be utilized as a, growing area. Conclusion now. Industries is a very successful industry and is rapidly expanding. Market is also increasing. Basically, if you consider the environmental and soil health hazards, this technology is the best one that you can utilize to grow your vegetables. There's a good, if the government intervention and with the interest shown by the universities, I think this can give a boost to this hydroponic sector. And the last one, you have to always think that hydroponics replace the bulk commodity products. Like you cannot grow wheat and jawar or bajra and all other legumes and in a hydroponic system, because the economic viability doesn't work then. The message, as you say that the consumer is increasingly concerned over health and environment issues, I think hydroponics has a good future. This hydroponic system is more sustainable, and it's highly productive and protective of the environment, and it gives grower, it makes grower free from his other constraints of environmental constraints, basically temperature rise, disease problems, efficient use of fertilizers, water, and so it has a good demand for the producing good quality vegetables and fruits for the rising population. Thank you. I have tried to make this a more general and more informative, so that you can get more ideas and work on how we can think of going into this technology. Before I conclude, I think whatever the time that we have, in case we are not able to answer all the questions, I have given my email address
Dr. Dhumal,
here. I will be glad to answer all anytime. Yeah.
If you can see in the corner, question and answer, one tab is there.
Yeah.
Can you open it?
Yeah.
And you please read the questions and please answer the questions.
Yeah, the first question is like, is hydroponics possible in open environment? Definitely, but it will not be a round the year production, because during the monsoon period, it will not be effective. So again, there's a problem that you cannot produce round the year and you cannot supply round the year. So, that is not recommended. Some technology like NFT and NFT cannot be used in open farming, in the open environment, because of the crops that you grow them, they require a cooler climate. So we can do only seasonal production in the open environment. What is the estimated cost for establishing a minimum area of hydroponic system for a sustainable economics? It depends on what system you are working on, basically water-based or media-based. So it's very difficult to tell on this question, but you can always contact me through the mail and I'll give you all the details what you require on this. Can I reuse of this water? Yeah, definitely. In the NFT system or the water-based system, it is a recirculating system. So there's no question of, we are reusing the water. So that's why we say that this system requires a very less quantity of water. But in media-based system, when you irrigate your crops, you can always collect the drain also and reuse it to refertilize or re-irrigate your crops. But provided you have to have a certain system wherein you disinfect the drain system, that is the drain nutrient solution that has come into the drains, disinfect it, and you can reuse it. But that again, then there's a big cost to that. So basically, that is where it matters. But for a water-based system, it's a recirculating system. Is RO system required for hydroponics? Yes, that I mentioned, it is a compulsory thing. That's what I recommend, because when you use RO water, you also eliminate a lot of waterborne pathogens like E. coli, Salmonella, Listeria. So that also cause a very big damage to human health also. But in the Indian context, since our body system is very immune to this thing, but like in the Western world, I think, you might have read articles where the open farm grown lettuces have been called back from the whole country because it was contaminated with E. coli. Is possible to get fungal diseases of quality of water? That's why when you use RO water, definitely you can eliminate that. But simultaneously, you have to see that you have good sanitation and practices in the greenhouses, where you avoid any contamination coming out from outside, like through shoes, your clothes and all that. So it have to be a very hygienic system, and it should be well sanitized also. Do you get premium prices for products of hydroponic system? Definitely, because unless you get a premium price, you cannot service your loan or you cannot service your capex that you have invested. I am from Konkan. There are heavy rains. I'm thinking, should I produce vegetables on the terrace? I think growing on a terrace in the Konkan area will be a very seasonal production, and based on what technology you use, you have to be very particular on that front. I think cost is very relevant. I can give more details once you can contact me on the email. Any more questions?
Yeah, doctor, there is one more question. Dr. Dhumal.
Yes.
There is one more question in the chat box, that whether it is organic and whether it can be certified.
See, when I tell people that this product is not organic, because we use chemical fertilizers basically. Yeah, And but I always give a justification that it is beyond organic. The reason is, since we are using RO water, we are eliminating all the human pathogens from the water. If you practice good hygienic practices in the greenhouses, good sanitation, good hygiene, you can eliminate any pests and diseases coming inside the greenhouses, you know, and whatever the produce that you're going to produce, since chemical fertilizers, what we use is a readily available plant food, provided it doesn't get into the soil and deteriorate the soil. But if you see the systems, we are not letting it go down into the soil. So we avoid getting the chemical fertilizer into the soil and lowering the quality of the soil. But as I said, with organic fertilizers, when you apply them to the open fields or in any soil-based system, when you apply all farm manures or any other manures, they do have, and when you irrigate the crops with the surface water or dammed waters, these all water sources are 100% contaminated with the human pathogens. So these come on the product. It cannot be seen by an eye, but they are there on the product. But with the hydroponic systems, you can always eliminate these systems. And to my knowledge, I think using chemical fertilizers and where the plants take up these nutrients in the available form, and when you apply it through organic forms, they have to be converted by the soil into available form when the plant is taken. So the plant takes up a single form, ionic form of the nutrient. So I think chemical fertilizers doesn't harm the human health. So I say that, you know, it can be beyond organic.
Doctor, what I suggest that this might be a residue-free natural farm.
Yeah, we always, when we sell the produce, we say that it's a residue-free produce. So it doesn't have any chemical residues in it to use of pesticides.
This is the last question for you. That where is the place where these participants or can take the training professionally?
There are a lot of requests and information for training in different languages, right, in Hindi, in Marathi, and so, sir, if you could please share that.
Yeah, training is basically, you know, the mode of training is a practical training you have to undergo. You cannot just get all theoretical information in a classroom and then, you know, work on your project. I would not recommend that. You have to be on the farm and work on the farm to get the experience of, you know, all the practices that are done on a day-to-day basis. That will give you a very concrete, you know, input, and wherein you can later on, you can have your own project, you can design your own project. But theoretical, you know, classroom trainings, I would never recommend, because you have to do it yourself. Then only you can, you know, have a good knowledge of this, because it's a very complicated thing. It's not very simple. So basically, you have to be very, you know, practically oriented.
All right. Sure, sir. So there are a few more questions coming here. So would you be able to answer them, or do we take them later?
Yeah, I can answer them. Okay. I can answer them. Yeah.
Sir, some people are asking, do we get some special rates or different rates for the hydroponic produce as compared to the traditional produce?
Definitely. That's what I mentioned earlier also. Hydroponic produce fetches a higher price as compared to a soil grown. For example, if you grow lettuce in a soil, and if you grow it in a hydroponic water-based system or a coco peat-based system, definitely you will have to have a better price realization, because you cannot compare the quality of the open farm grown lettuce vis-a-vis the hydroponically grown, because visually there will be a big difference, as well as the post-harvest shelf life of the hydroponically grown produce will be much higher as compared to the soil grown produce. So it has to have a high premium price on it.
Sir, if you could read the questions in the Q&A, and I think most of them we've already answered. One is hydroponic vegetable in Konkan area, how to manage rain on terrace?
Yeah, that's what I answered that also. I think it will be a seasonal thing. Yeah, because in Konkan, the climate is very warm and humid around the year.
Right.
And rainy season, I think it rains so heavily. There is no natural light also during the peak monsoon period. So the plants will not grow very optimum because there's shortage of light, as well as the humidity is almost 80 to 100%. You know,
Correct.
so you'll not be able to grow during that time of the year.
And so the cost. Some people are keen to understand what is the cost setup and how we can expand later. Mr. Ashok, I think, has put this question.
Yeah, expansion. See, expansion. Whenever you set up a project, you have to always keep it in mind when you select an area or the land. You have to always keep a provision for expansion in for the future. Because once you establish one project at one area or in one locality, and if you don't have enough land to expand in the future, then it becomes a difficult task for you to find a separate land, and then the project gets divided into two units, and then it becomes a little difficult for management also. So you have to always think in advance
Right, sir.
that you better have that much land available in the beginning
Sure.
itself.
So,
I think,
Yeah.
Shruti, now we conclude.
right. There is just one more question, sir. If we can answer that, I think most of them, okay. We are getting more questions. I think the topic is so interesting that the questions are pouring in. Though I think
I will answer all the questions, but if time permits, I can always, they can contact me through emails, and I'll definitely answer
absolutely.
them.
So I request all of the attendees, if you have any questions, sir has shared the email ID. Sir, you've done that in the presentation. If you could please repeat.
The last slide was there.
Yeah, last slide.
Last slide was the email ID. Sir, if you could please share your email ID again. In case somebody has missed, you could just tell them again so they can get back to you for any training, discussions, or more questions.
Yeah, I think I've shown the last slide here. If you can, share the screen.
Sorry, of course.
See that? Got it?
Right, sir. It is, of course, it will be there with everybody.
Okay.
So thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Dr. Dhumal, sincere thanks for your valuable time.
Yeah, I also like to thank you because you were the person who was instrumental in,
basically there are two. Knowledge should not go along with you. So knowledge should be always, transferred. So you become more young and young. So we wish you pleasant present and pleasant future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful session, sir.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Session, sir. We have a lot of queries for your sessions in Hindi and Marathi. So we'll of course get we have more such webinars, some informative webinars in different languages from you.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Request all of you to please download Kisan.net app. It will help you connect with agriculture scientists and get